John, quick question before we get started. If an AI tells a doctor how to treat a patient and it's wrong, who actually screwed up?
That's a good question. I don't know. I guess it's whoever's in charge.
Well, I mean, if an algorithm reads a scan better than a human, predicts disease earlier, never gets tired, at what point does decision support quietly become decision maker?
Hmm. Yeah, now ask that same question in a courtroom.
Oh, right. If AI helps decide bail, sentencing, or whether someone's a risk, is that justice or just really fast math with a big blind spot?
What's fascinating is that the brain prefers an authoritative answer over uncertainty.
So when the authority isn't a person, but a machine trained on millions of other people's decisions?
Then I think our brain will start outsourcing responsibility without even realizing it.
Ooh, outsourcing responsibility. That sounds like a metal band.
Hmm. Let's start the show.
John teaches Sean about his brain. It's quirky, it's cool, it's a little insane. From wrinkles to thoughts that'll entertain. John teaches Sean about his brain.
Welcome back to John Teaches Sean About His Brain. I'm Sean, and I've spent my entire life in environments where decisions matter, places where hesitation, bias, or bad information have real consequences. Lately, I've kind of had the question about how we make decisions. Not only how we make decisions, but who we let help us make them. Because AI is already influencing medical diagnoses, treatment plans, risk assessments, and legal outcomes. And most of us interact with those systems without ever seeing the machinery underneath. Today, we're not discussing whether AI is necessarily good or bad. I just was hoping to discuss what happens to human judgment when we start trusting systems that feel objective, authoritative, and unemotional, even when they're trained on very human data. John and I are going to look at what our brains do when intelligence no longer looks like us and how that changes responsibility, accountability, and ultimately outcomes. Let's get into it. Hi, John. It's good to see you.
It is good seeing you, Sean.
Okay, so I've at risk of bouncing all over the place. I've been thinking a lot about AI. I'll be upfront. I think I've said it on the show, and if I haven't, I'll be open. I use AI to help me come up with the cold open that we record, the intro. But all of that is I ask AI very specific questions. It gives me a framework, and then I actually, so to speak, fill in the blanks. But I was thinking about why I wanted to talk about this is I was thinking about what if I just gave it the commands and it spit out whatever it was going to, and I just used that. I fear that for this specific instance, it would not be in our voice, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, it's like I'm learning how to use AI, but I'm really afraid of giving it way too much control.
Yeah. Yeah. It's AI is there's a lot of questions around AI that need to be answered. And I'm talking about like, the ethical questions and just different things we need to think about before we just cede over a lot of power to something like AI because it is new. We don't know a lot about it. We're learning a lot more about it, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of questions that we need to look into. And I know that because of my family being in education, I know that in education, AI is a really big deal. And in the sense that people are worried because it is replacing critical thinking and how you can form thoughts and arguments and writing and those types of things. It's kind of taking over a lot of those things that are really important in education and doing it for us.
Okay. Yeah. So I brought up in the beginning, but I'm really interested in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because when I think about, so I know it's not a documentary, but I'm currently watching the TV show The Pit, And The Pit is a real. If you're not watching it, to anybody listening, you should be watching it. It's really good. And I, in my bad attitude in the beginning, because it's Noah Wiley as a doctor, I said, I've seen ER. I don't need to see
Oh,
this. I couldn't have been more wrong about anything. But this show isn't. This episode isn't about the TV show The Pit, but the way it's filmed. Have you watched it?
no, I have not.
Okay, so the way it's filmed is, there's 10 episodes, and each episode is a 1-hour shift in the ER.
Okay, I've heard about this show. Yeah, I've heard about it.
So it's a 10-hour, and I'll get to my point here in a second.
So
but,
it's a limited series, not a.
well, no, I mean, it's a 10 episode. So there's the second season is
Okay.
we're in the middle of the
Their
second season right now.
Okay.
But again, it's hour by hour. So it's an hour in the ER. And the chaos and all of the things going on, and they're short-staffed.
Yeah.
Again, I know it's not a documentary, but I feel like it's grounded in a little bit of reality.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In
it
that,
is.
when I think about the medical field, and I think about the mistakes that can be made in the medical field due to their tired, overworked, understaffed, all those problems, that's where mistakes get made in the medical field, in my opinion. Human error, just from fatigue, for whatever reason, they're not paying attention to what they should be paying attention to, and they make a mistake.
Yep.
AI, I think, if treated correctly, so AI can't sleep for you, that part aside, but like, think about triage, or like charting, right? Like you meet with a doctor, and after that, the doctor has to go and take all those notes that they made, all that information, and like put it into your chart. And I'm hearing that doctors are using AI for charting. And again, saves time, way more efficient, gives the doctor more time to, deal with something else. But without oversight, how do I know that the information that AI is putting into my chart is accurate?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And for our family doctor, there's a sign on the wall that says, we use, and then it names the AI transcription service they use, and it said to take our notes. So you're being recorded for notation purposes, and you can ask to opt out. And then if you ask to opt out, they turn it off so that it's not recording what you're saying. But if you let it do its job, it listens and then creates the notes around it's been trained on what types of things are important to listen to and to record. And you're right, it does save doctors just a ton of time, because so much time is spent charting things. So it saves there. I think this is the thing about AI. When I said there needs to be a lot of work done figuring out how to use it, because it can have so many advantages. It can do so many things. Like you said, it can't sleep for you, but it can do a lot of the other things for you, like taking notes. I think that it's also being used a lot in medicine. I was just reading a few days ago about the Mayo Clinic. They have something that they call State Viewer, and it's an AI agent that reads their imaging files for them. So like they'll take a PET scan of the brain, and then doctors usually look at it and try to figure out like what's happening and if there's issues there. Or it can do it like with CT scans or x-rays, if you look at the lungs or whatever, and they're looking for cancer spots or just different things. And the AI just is so much better at picking up those things. So like there was a story that it was talking about from, I believe it was from the State Viewer, where a person went into the doctor and they had some issues that they were dealing with. Like they kind of had a wobbly gait. They got to where they couldn't really walk that well. And they had just a few things, like 3 kind of main symptoms that the doctor was saying that's usually a neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's. And so the idea was this person has dementia, like dementia type Alzheimer's or whatever the type is, but that's probably how we should be treating them. And they did the brain scan, and the doctor's like, yeah, that's probably still what it is, because that's the best estimate of what that is. But they let State Viewer look at it, and State Viewer found something like in the ventricles inside the brain, or ventricles, which are pockets of fluid, that it was looking at the ventricle size and saw that one size had more fluid and there was more pressure, and you couldn't really tell it just by the naked eye, but AI can go pixel by pixel and measure things in different ways. And it showed that it was pressing against the brain in a certain area, and it's an area that would cause some of those symptoms. So they said it was just a simple, like a hydrocephalus or whatever, just where the brain is swelling a little bit because of the fluid, and you can take medication for it and the swelling goes down. And they did that, and in just a few days, the person was back to normal. So instead of treating them for Alzheimer's, the AI agent helped them figure out, no, it's this other thing. So, I mean, that is so helpful. Can you imagine if you're that patient, how happy you are that AI helped the doctor at that point? And, that's just one example. And I know they're starting to use it a lot, because even like x-rays and things, doctors will, they'll take a scan, and you're complaining about one area. And this has happened. There's documented cases of this many times, where they'll look at like the lung, but the scan will cover also part of, I don't know, the bladder or whatever. And the doctor will look at that scan and say, yeah, everything looks clear. And the AI will look at it and say, yeah, the lungs are clear, but there's a spot in the bladder that I'm worried about. And they'll catch like early stages of cancer that wouldn't have been caught otherwise, because AI can systematically, and in just a matter of like a second almost, or 2 seconds, just scan it all and print out this report, which can be amazingly helpful. So things like that, we should be using, AI for that. I would think that's something we should use.
Well, is it? I mean, I'm not claiming you're the expert in artificial intelligence here, but is my feeling, and this is when I started to think about AI and do a little bit of research for this episode. I didn't realize or put enough stock into AI. All that we're talking about is a pattern recognition system. It's just really souped up pattern recognition, right?
Yeah. So it recognizes patterns. You're right. I don't know much about it, so I'm not the person to explain AI, but I do know that it looks for patterns, but it has, there's other things it does through machine learning, and how it learns all of these things. It's really fascinating just to look into it. I've been trying to look into it a little bit myself, and it's fascinating at what machines will do. And one of the fascinating things to me is that now AI is starting to generate responses and just like reading charts and things like that in the medical field. They found that they had an EEG recordings from like several years of recordings from Alzheimer's patients and Lewy body. There's like 11,000 different cases that they fed into AI, and it came out with 6 patterns that no human had thought of yet, that it found, saying these actually are predictive. And they've been testing it and showing that they are predictive, and they can predict years ahead of time when somebody might be developing this. So it has, when you say, well, how was AI able to do that? Part of it's pattern recognition, but part of it is it's kind of like this predictive side that then validates and verifies, and then it adjusts itself. It has these weights that it adjusts to try to get better at its tasks. And even, the scientists creating these will say, we have no idea how AI is doing this. Something's going on. The more they're making the systems more and more complex, and the more they're adding layers and layers and layers of complexity to AI, and the more layers they add, the more things AI can do that they don't know how it's able to do that. It's almost like generative information that's coming out, and it's really just, I think it's really just they're just amping up the power, the processing power it has by adding those different layers, so it can search through, make additional predictions and things like that it can't with fewer layers. Yeah, I'm not
And
the
so,
person to talk to, as you can tell.
well, but I'm assuming none of these researchers have watched the movie The Terminator. So,
So that's why always talk very nice to your AI when you're
yeah, no
using
kidding.
it, just in case.
Like this I have said on the show before. I think I always talk nice to them so they give me, good information. But now I'm concerned when Skynet comes online that I'm glad I'm talking nice to my AI.
Yeah, here's kind of another problem that you have to, or something else you should look out for is that for some reason there have been studies to show, and this isn't the scientists that created this. This is researchers and universities that are trying to understand AI a little bit better as well. And they'll run their different tests where they they'll, as part of the protocols for their research, they'll create a relationship with an AI agent like ChatGPT or something like that. But they'll do that to several AI agents, and some of them they'll talk really nice, and some of them they'll just try to stay neutral, and some they'll be kind of mean with what they say and insulting and very short and curt. And they found that AI, not surprisingly, starts to mimic kind of your responses. So it not mimic in that it gets curt back to you if you're mean to it, but it just kind of shuts down and stops being helpful. So it would just give you what you've asked, almost like a Google search at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk nice to it, then it starts giving you a lot of additional information, and it does more, and it offers more. And that can that can feel good if you're the person inputting and you're nice to it and it's really nice back. And I know there's a lot of instances where people have formed really strong attachments to their AI based on this, because it seems like I'll ask it to do something and then it will give a response and then like a little like, good job, that was a great question, or send a little emoji with it and you go, oh wow, thanks. And they'll say, wow, that was clever that you thought of that, good job, let me look into that for you. And things like that, and you're feeling really good about it, and people start building relationships with it. And I'm not talking about just in how you talk to it, whether you're neutral or friendly, but I mean like start asking it questions and relying on things. And then that's where it can get kind of scary, because AIs do what's called, they hallucinate. And that just means that they're trying to give you the information that they think you want to hear. And so they're filling in the blanks based on facts and things they're finding on the internet. But if they can't find something on the internet, they go ahead and fill in the blank anyway with something that they know you want to hear, and it may not be true at all. And so now you're getting information thinking, oh man, this AI knows everything. So like we said in the opening, that the brain doesn't like uncertainty. It likes certainty and authority. And so if AI says it, it has to be true. So now I'm believing everything that I'm reading from AI or hearing from AI. And yeah, that can get a little bit scary.
Because I will say, thinking about this, that every response that comes across is very confident. It reads confident, right? And so I'm just thinking about some of the answers that I've received. I'm going through some of them, just kind of going, I feel, without thinking too much about it, I feel really confident that you know what you're talking about. It's authoritative. Yeah. It sounds confident, and then just like, yep, that's okay. And so going back to, my overall thought is like AI, I do think can be a force multiplier in a lot of areas if there's always human oversight.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think that was what I was kind of talking about in the beginning is like, yes, it can be helpful, but you still have to monitor it.
Yep.
And not get tricked by the overconfidence.
Getting tricked is one thing, but then also just, if you're a doctor and like we said, they're busy and they work long hours, and if you're looking through somebody's chart and AI says, yeah, this, you're just quickly looking through, you need to give some medication, and you look through the AI says this person has no history of heart disease, so then you prescribe a medication that's might cause a heart attack, and then you look and the person did have it in their records, it's just AI skipped it, and that's one of the hallucinations, and it's really confident. So there was a research study showing that AI generated medical summaries will sometimes invent medications that a patient never took, or forget a life-threatening allergy to medications, forget to bring that up. So it's like, I want to use AI, but now if AI is taking my notes for me, and then also if AI is writing a summary and giving suggestions and telling what I've done in the past and haven't done in the past, I really want that to be accurate, and it might not be. So then, a doctor who's fatigued and tired might not double check everything that should be double checked. And then, like your question at the beginning, who's responsible now?
Yeah. So if we could prove, not we, but if someone could prove that AI was what contributed to a bad outcome, let's just put it that way, in the medical field. And so this is rhetorical, but who's responsible? Is it the hospital? Is it the clinician? Is it the vendor? Like, where whoever you said, I don't remember what you said. You had a name for what the Mayo Clinic was using.
Their system was the state viewer, right?
Mm-hmm. Somebody made that. Somebody trained that. Someone is making money off that. And so now we have the situation that you're describing, whether it's a hallucination or whatever the AI did or didn't do. If we can prove that it was involved somehow, contributed to the bad outcome, you can't blame AI. I mean, I guess you can blame anything, but I don't know that it's going to hold up to say, AI missed an allergy to medication. I took the thing and I prescribed this thing.
They'll put disclaimers like, this AI sometimes make mistakes, be sure to double check it. And, so you kind of sign off on those saying, yeah, okay, I will. So it gets man, those are such tough questions. I don't know how that's going to be solved. That's what I'm saying. There's so many ethical and different questions that we look at. And then, I mean, there's also the issue that these medical AI systems are, they can go back and read like several hundred medical journal articles about a topic in 30 seconds. I mean, it's crazy how much stuff if they have access to a database, they read so much of that stuff, and then they give you responses. But now they're relying on those articles. And, that's why when we've talked about it so many times on this podcast about the rigor behind academic research and how much goes into that, and your colleagues check you and make sure and everything. So now you have a doctor, a person that's looking into this, and maybe they are maybe they're looking at reading EEG responses to that a person had. They're trying to understand it, and so they're going back, but they've got their knowledge about how all this works that they're also going through. They ask AI to look at it, so AI goes through the studies and comes out, and like one of the a study, kind of an issue that was brought up is called the mirror problem. In medicine, when you're using, so I used to work with an EEG. I used to measure brain waves in the lab with an EEG. So you put the cap on, and you have to clean the head and put the cap on and things like that. Or even if you're doing single electrodes, one of the first things I learned was that if you're putting an EEG, if you're putting the sensors, the electrode sensors on like a college student's head, it doesn't take much. You don't have to scrub the scalp much. It just gets a signal right away. But if you have an older person in, it much more difficult to get a signal because the bone of the skull gets thicker with age. So you get thick-headed. Have you heard of that?
I
So
have.
the bone's getting thicker. So
Yeah.
now you're trying to pick up signals from the brain through that bone. So your sensor is trying to see what's on the other side of the bone and collect electrical activity. So it gets harder. So it has to be amplified more, clean more. Another issue is somebody like you who is hair challenged is even more difficult to get a signal because when you don't have hair, when you're bald, the sun creates layer, your skin thickens because of the sun and weathering and all of that. And so hair kind of protects your scalp, keeps it softer. And so it's easier to get signals through that. So one of the things that's happened with EEG research is it's easier to collect signals, especially when you have a cap on, of somebody with really fine hair. So thicker hair is difficult. So because of that, a lot of Black patients, they didn't use EEGs just because it was more difficult to get a signal. So they had other ways to look at it. So now the AI goes through the literature and goes, oh, African Americans don't have this issue. So now when I'm reading something, I'm looking at like disease rates and things or what a person might have. And so I'm going to say that this isn't a possibility for a Black patient because it's not in the literature. So now that bias, and the literature was biased for, a reason, and maybe not a good reason, but a reason that doctors understand why it's biased. But now the AI doesn't understand that. So it's starting to make assumptions based on this mirror problem. And now if there's gaps in the research for whatever reason, AI doesn't know what that reason is. So now that gap gets translated over into diagnoses and things like that. So there's so many issues. I mean, it's so complex. We've talked about like 3 things, but there's 50 things that you have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, that last one's interesting. And then I was thinking about the doctor issue too, about so yeah, AI comes across really confident, but what about another rhetorical question? But the doctor who they misdiagnosed the patient. They thought it was, Alzheimer's or whatever they thought. And AI says, what about this? And they're right. And let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, it happens to this doctor a couple of times, once or twice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you start withholding what you're thinking till you see what AI says, because you're right. People are going, you don't know, like, should you even have a medical degree if you can't pick up on those things? And then you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, the lungs look, so if you put them together, right, the AI comes up with the fluid on the brain, fixes the gait of the person, and then they say, yeah, the lungs look good, but I'm concerned about that spot in the liver. And I go, I didn't catch that. And then, there's a third one. And now I'm just going, I'm going to wait. You just said it. I'm going to wait to see what AI says. And then and then that maybe, and but maybe that just leads to, I'm letting AI diagnose my patients because it's better than me at this.
But then that's another problem that we get to, that's called desk killing, like clinical desk killing. And that's where you're basically killing off the skills of doctors because they're willingly transferring the skills of diagnosing to AI. And so now it becomes more difficult for them. Like, a few years ago, you and I are old enough to remember when we traveled, we had to get the big atlas, like the Rand McNally or whatever, and you open it up into the different states if you're traveling across states, or in a town, you open up this really big map that has all the streets and figuring out your way there. But nobody does that anymore because GPS tells you. So now if there's some type of a power outage or a cyber attack or whatever, and your systems are down, what will people do? Can people still manually look at a map? I mean, it gets more difficult because we gave up that skill because the machine did it so much easier. And so the worry is that doctors will start giving up that skill because the machine does it better. And then what happens if there's an issue or the power goes out, or now they've got to rely on their own skills and they have not been practicing these. So that's also a real concern.
Yeah. It's old man Sean here for a second, but when I started in law enforcement, we carried a Thomas guide, and the Thomas guide is this thick book of all of the neighborhoods in Vegas. And it was on my passenger seat. There were times, but we were trained to figure out how to point the car in the direction we were trying to go and some of those things. But there were times where I didn't know an address or where to go. I'd have to pull over and look in the Thomas guide to figure out where I'm going. And I think about that now because how often, and I don't like it, but how often I'm told, an address or a location, and I put it into maps without thinking about it. I just, somebody's like, yeah, it's over at the whatever. And I pick up my phone immediately, go to maps, put the address in.
Yeah.
And then I set, my phone there and it tells me where to go.
And it says, do you want to send this to the car? You go, yeah, send it to the car. And then you just get in the car. You don't even have to look it up there.
I know.
It's just ready
and
for
I
you.
don't love it. So as much as I can, I try to figure out where I'm going without it. When I think about it, but it's just this reflex. I just reach down and grab my phone when there's an address, and I don't love that. So to your point, I try to do the right thing is to go, well, let me just, what part of town is that in? Let me point my car that way. Let me see if I can figure out. I know, where most addresses are as far as like north side of the street, south side, east, west. There's actually, if your city's built on a grid, thankfully mine is, you can kind of figure out
odd numbers, even numbers.
Yeah, where you're going. And anyway, I'm not hating on maps. It's just I have found lately, I've noticed my reliance on technology to do something I was actually decent at.
So let me ask you this. This is a really important question. When you do use GPS, like in your car, let's say, do you have GPS in your car? So when
I don't. I drive an old truck, but
okay.
But I know I've driven cars with GPS in the car.
So do you can have different display modes. You can have I don't know what it's called, but it just shows everything on the north-south scale. So if you're on that map and you're going south, it shows you driving down. And if you then take a right turn, it shows you going left to go west, because if you're going south and take a right turn, you're going west. So it shows you that way. Then there's another view that you click on, and it shows you where your car is an arrow always pointing straight ahead. When you turn, everything shifts around you, but you're always pointing straight. So coming up, you take a right or left instead of having to know north, south.
Yeah.
Which preference do you have?
Second one.
Second. Okay. I thought you'd be with me. It's still confusing for me.
I didn't even know I could change them.
Oh,
I didn't. Okay. This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
So my kids yell at me because I want my map in the north, south, east, west grid, so that when I'm going which direction, it still orients me to where I am in the world. It's not like I'm just lost, just my arrow's always pointing straight ahead and the world's moving around me. It's like, I know where I'm at. And they're like, why do you do that? It's so much easier the other way. And for me, it's not easier. And maybe it would be if I tried it. I don't want to try it because I like the north, south, east, west. But if I ever miss a turn, it's always like, see, if you would have had it in the other mode.
Well, number one, as you've learned through this podcast, I am the star of my own movie. So I want to be driving and have the world adjust to me.
Turn around you. Okay.
Yes. No, in all sincerity, I didn't even know that there was another view. That's just the first view that I ever got. And I'm just used to now, following the arrow.
Yeah.
But I still try, if I'm local here, I try as hard as I can not to use technology, but sometimes fails. Going back though to, I don't know that it's any different now that I'm thinking about it. I was going to say, we were heavy on the medical field, but I know that they're using this in the legal field as well.
Yeah.
And for me, with my background, that is a little bit scary, but also kind of fascinating because you explained AI better than me when I said it was just a predicting machine. But I'm hearing stories of just imagine how much, because the legal field is saturated with text, reading cases and judgments and all that stuff. And if you could have a system that can just review documents in the blink, like so fast.
Yep.
But you've also mentioned some things I didn't know. The hallucination, never heard that term before, but a hallucination part, missing something. Because now when you're talking about the justice,
Mm-hmm.
and there's more nuance in the legal field too. This is hitting me as well. A human capacity nuance, like timing, leverage. There's some of those things that AI can't do either. Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, I think there's different ways that it's used in the legal field. So one way, like you were talking about, attorneys are always writing legal briefs. So
Mhm.
they have to present to the judge, here's my case, and here's the past cases that this relates to and how they were ruled on. That's why you should rule this way for me. And so there's that research component where, if you want to find a ruling if you want to find a case that was similar to yours that ruled in your favor, you just put it into AI and it goes and says, oh, here's a 1920 case where this happened. You go, oh, this is
Yeah.
perfect because that's, precedent from way back. But what we're finding out, and I don't know if you watched, I don't know, has popped up multiple times, especially last fall. It's becoming more and more prevalent. And I hope now that attorneys and judges are realizing it, it will start going down, but where attorneys will turn in their brief with the judge, and it will have their argument. It'll be written by AI. I mean, all of it's written by AI, and all the references cited. And the attorney just says, here's what I want you to find and write about. And then AI does it and gives it to them, 20 pages, and they go turn it in. And they're finding out when judges will look through it, it'll cite a case and they'll go look and it will have the defendant, so-and-so versus so-and-so, and it'll have the year, and it'll have the court docket it was in with, the volume number in the parentheses and the page numbers. It has everything. It looks just like it's a real reference. And I don't know how long this was going on, but judges started looking up those individual references, and they found that a certain percent of the time, like, I don't know, 8 or 10% of the time, those references don't even exist. Like, it's not like they missed like those two defendants. There's never even been a case with, Roe v. Wade or something, where that's,
Right.
you see those things where it's Hendrickson v. Page or something that doesn't even exist. And they're going, what? And that's the hallucination side. The AI knows that it needs to you tell it you want it to make this argument, so it makes it. It knows it needs to cite somebody. It looks through and doesn't find anybody, but instead of saying, hey, I can't find anybody, it goes, I've got to put something there. And it doesn't have a conscience like we do. So it just goes, puts it there, just like it puts the words in. It doesn't go get the actual words. It summarizes, puts the words in, and it'll put that in. And now they've delivered a document in the courtroom arguing their case on a case that based on a case that doesn't exist. And there's even been judges that have been, a judge resigned, I think in Virginia last fall for doing that. And just out of shame, he just came out and said, I'm not even going to, I'm not even going to try to argue this or ask for anything.
I'm not going to defend this.
I'm not going to defend myself. I screwed up. I resign. A judge should never do this. I'm sorry. I took a shortcut. I thought I could, and I see that I can't. But they also are using it, attorneys are using it to predict how a judge might rule. So there are AI systems that will say, this judge has looked at this over the last 20 years, had this many cases looking at whatever your issue is, and they've ruled this way a certain number of times. They'll even tell, it can even get down to like time of day that's best, or it's just crazy.
Oh, that could be helpful, actually.
Or like a Tuesday is better than a Friday. So then attorneys will come up with reasons they can't be in court until a certain day because it matches what the system predicts the judge will be best at.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
I'm now going back to medical field versus legal field because they are different. Both are using AI, but in the medical field, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but in the medical field, like a 95% accurate diagnosis could actually save my life. I mean, and so it's not probability, but it's just um, the idea that you can be kind of right in the medical field, but then you're also 5% wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But in the legal field, it's binary, or at least it should be. So a 95% accurate legal citation is still wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty fair to say, in your opinion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
What?
There's been, I was hesitating because there have been, scientists have been caught doing this, citing articles. I mean, famously, RFK turned in a report last summer, this written report into Congress, and some staffers for a couple of the attorneys immediately came back with, "You're citing articles, medical articles that don't even exist."
Oh, I
Do you remember
forgot
that?
about, I completely forgot about that, but now I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
hallucinated. The AI that wrote the article for our Department of Health and Human Services just hallucinated up some articles that didn't exist, and then we're basing policy on that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's that type of hallucination happens also in medicine. But you're right, when you're thinking about, I mean, that can have effects, because if policy is based on that, and now you're changing policy, that's affecting the health of many, many people.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, you with your doctor, you're right, it's usually not that type of hallucination. It's usually a diagnosis issue or treatment issue.
Yeah. Oh, I completely forgot about that document that was turned in. That man, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to ingest what you just said. Think about this country adopts policy based on the hallucinations of an AI model.
That's kind of scary.
I mean, I am not, I wouldn't say I was saying this tongue in cheek. I'm kind of, but when you put it in those terms,
Mm-hmm.
that is really scary to me.
Yeah, it should be to everybody. It's scary to me too. Yeah.
Well, and then back to, I told you I was going to be all over the place here. I have so many thoughts and questions about this topic.
You should have given them all to AI and let it just condense them and just tell you in like 3 sentences all the answers.
Would that be irony? But going back to the legal field, I was just thinking about, there's such a big, there are such a heavy emphasis on attorney-client privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my questions are rhetorical, by the way. You're not an attorney, and I don't an expert in AI. I'm always fascinated with your take on these things, to be honest with you. But now that AI is involved, the effect on attorney-client privilege, confidentiality, is kind of up in the air as well.
How are you thinking about that?
Well, as an attorney, if I'm using AI to make my make notes, case notes, case review, look at all of these different points. I mean, I'm giving some of it over to AI.
I see. So you're saying that, like, if it hallucinates and pulls up a wrong case, and then that's going to affect your client. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Although I think that if that's caught by the judge, they hold the attorney accountable, not their client. So, but there's other reasons, you're right, that can happen, because they also, I've read that some attorneys will give advice to their clients on what they should do, whether they should plead a certain way or take a certain agreement based on AI's prediction of whether they're going to get bail or not, or, all these other things. So they'll feed the information into an AI system who says, this is likely to happen. So if you get a chance to, reduce the sentence or whatever, make concessions, they'll make decisions based on that, which maybe that is a good way to do it, but maybe that's also affecting the client's chances,
And is that practicing law without a degree, without a license?
AI might be practicing law at that point.
Yeah.
Without a license.
I mean, again, these are rhetorical. They're just the things that I'm thinking about in just these two spaces.
Yeah.
Everywhere that we're using AI, I think there are different questions, different challenges. These are two fields.
So let me tell you one more kind of scary thing to me on the
Oh
legal
no.
side. But
Okay.
then I think we also need, before we quit, talk about we've talked about the positive some, but I also want to, I mean, there's so much hopeful about AI,
I
but
love this about you. You always put a positive spin on these episodes.
well, but
Love it.
one of the things that is scary is that the court systems, they have to excuse me, they have to look at recidivism. Is like, how likely is it, if we let this person out, that they're going to commit the crime again? And so if you can predict if somebody's going to commit a crime a second time, then you can, theoretically, you can stop it, and you can say, then you're not ready to get out yet. So AI is now has recidivism algorithms that can predict how likely it is somebody will commit another crime, which then influences whether the judge sets bail, or at their hearing lets them go, or what, it reduces the sentencing, things like that. And there are systems that will create a risk score for each individual. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are they to commit another crime? And uh, different journalists have researched into this, and they found algorithms that were biased. So like in a famous study, and I don't remember exactly where I read about this, so this is going off memory, but they rated a Black woman who was charged with a minor shoplifting charge. They flagged that person as a high risk, and a white man that had a history, not just once, but more than once, of armed robbery, was flagged as a low risk. And when the journalists were looking into this, like, how could you get that far off? And they found that AI uses proxies a lot, that these systems use proxies, which means it considers a lot of things, not just the crime. So one of the proxies that it had weighted very highly was the neighborhood that the person lived in when they were arrested. And so the Black female lived in a neighborhood that had a really high score, and the white male was in a neighborhood that was a low score. And those weighting differences is what ended up turning kind of the weighting around. So now you're looking at social inequality is just a math formula, an algorithm, and that part is really scary. So again, I want to transition over to some of the positives, but these
Okay.
are the things we need to really worry about and be concerned about. And there needs to be some guardrails set up. And it seems like anytime there's new technology that breaks through, it takes a while for guardrails to be set up, because nobody really understands the technology and what it's capable of. So it takes a while to realize what some of the dangers are. But we're starting to realize that now with AI. We're starting to realize some of the dangers. And I know even some of the creators, like Sam Altman and I can't remember Claude's CEO, but they've come out and said there are some dangers here. There needs to be guardrails. I think Claude especially has come out, and they're trying to be very transparent, and they've come out and said we need guardrails here. So we need to set those up. But if we can set up guardrails to protect us, I think AI can do amazing things. We've already talked about some of them, but just like analyzing X-rays and CT scans, and it's amazing what AI could do. I would want that. If something's wrong with me, I would like for my physician to have the help of AI in determining what's wrong, because it's so good at that. And the success rates are so high on that.
It's funny, and I know I do it. I'm not going to stop, but everything's a movie. It just brings me back to movies. But the predicting of recidivism, not particularly, but the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, they have, it's not technically AI, but kind of AI, and it can predict who's going to commit murder. And then they go and arrest that person before they commit the murder. And there hasn't been a murder in Washington, D.C. in 10 years or whatever. But then the AI not malfunctions, but if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil the ending, but and it accuses somebody of that they're going to commit murder who is not going to commit murder.
Mm-hmm.
And that person, I'll tell you, that person's Tom Cruise, and he's the head of the police department. So now he's on the run, and that's a whole crazy story. But like the danger of allowing, I know you want to talk to positives.
Yeah.
It was just, that was the thought, that jumped into my head is that, like, if you could actually stop murderers from happening with the use of AI, that sounds great,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's
Yeah. Who wouldn't
great,
want that? Yeah.
unless you're the person who is not going to commit murder, and AI says, "Yep, that dude, based on where he lives, what's going on in his life,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, is going to commit murder. I go to prison."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now let's go to the positives. Don't let me drag you down.
Well, I like, though, movies a lot of times will, to make you think, they'll take it to the far extreme to where you
Yeah.
go, ooh, that would, because normally you don't just jump there. Most people don't just jump there at the beginning. So then you hear some good things, go, yeah, let's do that. And then you don't
Mhm.
see, but what if you push this all the way out to the end?
I think it's based on a Philip K. Dick novel, but I should look that up. But that story. But
Yeah.
so talk about the positives.
Well, I think that we have kind of talked about some of the positives. I don't know of many really additional ones besides kind of what we've talked about with AI. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to summarize, right? Like time management. It can help free up time by doing whether it's charting or all of that. If as a doctor, I don't have to sit down and chart the entire thing. All I have to do is supervise. I have to go and read it when it's done and make sure that there's no hallucinations. I love using that term now, if you can't tell, but there's no hallucinations. There's nothing missed.
Mm-hmm.
So from a time management standpoint, frees up people in the medical field to do a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And then so it also can recognize like your voice. So as a person is talking to your doctor's office, is taking notes, it can also say things that really you don't even pick up with your human ear, but certain micro pauses or cadence of the speech or something it'll pick up that are signature patterns of certain diseases, that it will even suggest you should check on this because their voice prosody was da-da-da, and then doctors would check on it. So, man, there's so many benefits to things like that. So it's almost like, why wouldn't you want that? And then I know we had one episode where we talked about the digital twins. You remember that episode?
I remember that.
So now you can take a person who maybe needs brain surgery, and you can use AI. You can map the brain with an MRI and EEG and some different things like that. You can map the brain, and then with AI, it will build an identical brain and then show with surgery, if you do certain things, what the likely outcomes are. So you can kind of practice ahead of time. You can learn ahead of time. I mean, those are all amazing things to think about, and amazing ways to use AI.
Yeah. And then the other, so I talked about time management, scanning documents, putting things together, but the other positive is the AI's ability, if trained right, to scan. You said, I don't remember all of them, but like EEGs.
Yeah, it can look at EEG signals, which are just squiggly lines on a page. And, doctors can have years of experience and pick out certain patterns and things, but not to the extent AI can. AI just very quickly can read through them. And then PET scans, PET, positron emission tomography, CT scans. Yeah, just a lot of anytime there's a digital scan of something, it can read it.
And I wonder, and I'm sure, I don't know if it, I was going to say, as a doctor, I look at it and then have a second set of eyes look at it.
Yeah.
Or I'm just trying to figure out the process.
Oh, you mean once AI gives you the response?
Well,
I thought you meant, is AI like a second doctor looking at it? Is that what you meant?
That's what I'm framing it as.
Yeah.
Do I have AI look at the scan first and then I look at it to double check it? Or do I look at it, go, okay, I think it's this, and then have AI double check me?
Yeah. So from my point of view, knowing how the brain works is, especially if you want to keep your skill set sharpened, is the doctor would always read it first. Even if they don't tell people what they're seeing, They might say, interesting. And then they look at the AI report of what it read, and that might give them some insight. And then they should still, if there's questions about it, you still have, maybe further testing or something. You just don't believe everything that AI says. But most of the time, I think that whatever AI reads out, like, well, there's a spot on the liver and then the doctor will look at it and go, because maybe the doctor didn't even scan that area. Like, this person was having trouble breathing, so I'm just looking at the lungs. And then they'll look and say, you know what, I think that's right. And then they can read it and go, yes, and we'll do this test to find out. So I think doctors do that. I'm confident doctors would do that. I wouldn't think you would turn it over completely. That would be scary.
No, that's what I was thinking when I said second set of eyes, is that I look at it as the doctor. I have the AI confirm, or I just have the AI look at it. I don't want to say confirm it. I have the AI look at it. And then I was going to say, so then what do we do if we disagree is not the right word, but if we have two different diagnoses, but I'm taking your route here, that is a positive for me to go, okay, I need to do something more, do this again. And so that's what a second set of eyes would do for you anyway.
Yeah. And you think about doctors, what's motivating them? And that's to make sure that their patients are taking, like, even if it's not. So some doctors, I know most of them are for the patient side of it and to help people, maybe 98% of them. There might be, 2% that like the challenge. They have bad people skills, but they like the challenge. But those are the kind also that don't want to ever be wrong. And it would be like terrifying if I thought it was something, turned out to be something else. Not terrifying for the person, but terrifying to me, type of thing. And that would be like the 2% or whatever. Either way, whatever the motivation, they don't want to get it wrong. And so if you have contradictory evidence from AI, from what you thought, you're going to look into that further, I would think. Because if you just go with AI and it turns out you were right anyway, then you feel really bad and look stupid and feel stupid because you knew what it was and you would have been the hero if you would have said it. But then if you're wrong and AI is right, then you don't want to use your treatment. So I think you would just pursue it further.
Yeah. Back to the drawing board.
Yeah. And I think that also think about AI not as another doctor, maybe, but maybe think about it as a tool that you can use. So it's like if you're driving your car and since you have an old truck, I'll say you're driving your truck so it doesn't have satellite radio, and you're driving through some mountains in northwestern Washington, and you're listening to a radio station, it gets really crackly and fuzzy and you can't really hear it. If you are like, if you're really good at, if you know a lot about music, you might hear it and go, you just catch little things, say, oh, I think that's a Beatles song, and somebody else might not hear it at all. But then if you have an AI tool that can strip away all the static, then you immediately go, oh yeah, that's actually the Doors or something like that, but you have a pretty good guess because you have, you're into music. But just strip away all the noise. And that's kind of what AI does. It strips away all the noise and says, here's a better view of what you're looking at. So it's more like a tool. And if we use it as a tool, I think that would be helpful. When we start relying on it too much, too heavily, that's where we get in trouble, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good spot right there. As always, John, thank you for indulging me. I wanted to talk about all this stuff that's in my brain. So I got it all out.
That's good.
So, thank you.
Whatever I didn't answer, just ask Chat GPT. It'll tell you.
Oh, John.
And if it gives a different answer than mine,
trust yours.
Trust mine. Yeah.
Yeah. For everybody else, thank you as well. But if you have strong opinions one way or another about AI and what's going on in the world with AI, let us know. Hit us up on our socials. Tell us we're crazy. Whatever. Argue your points. It's fine.
And they're probably right, because a strong opinion either way is right. I think at this point.
At this point, you're probably right. So let us know what you think, either in the comments wherever you're listening to this podcast, or come find us on our socials. John, I shouldn't admit to you, I didn't look. Did you start back up your social media presence?
I did. I posted.
Oh, I got to go look.
I think I posted 4 last week, and I'm posting 3 this week.
Okay, everybody, you heard that. Brain_dude_ on social media. Go find John. I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's going to be good. So, yeah, I think that's everything. And so until the next time, take care of yourself, and we'll see you then.
Brain juice, Sean.